Hey boys and girls, it's Charlie and we are going to teach you about frogs and toads today. Say hi, Charlie. Say hi. Yeah, say hi. She wanted to join our video. She's getting a little restless of me doing all this work and not playing with her, taking her for walks. You want to go for a walk later? Yeah, you want to go for a walk later? Maybe we'll go searching for some frogs or some toads later on, huh? Yeah. Okay, so yesterday we talked a lot about frogs and what makes a frog, where it lives, what are some good qualities about frogs. So let's review some of that. First off, frogs are amphibians. Yeah, and what does an amphibian mean? It means it's got two lives. Yeah, very good. One life is in the water. One life is lived on land. Very good. All amphibians have what type of blood? Cold blood. Yeah, what does that mean that they're cold-blooded? They need the sun to warm them up. Yeah, that means that they take the temperature of their environment and they have to use the sun to keep warm or the water to keep cool. Very good. Okay. So let's go over some specific facts about frogs, and then I'm going to tell you some specific facts about toads, because toads are amphibians too. And frogs and toads may look a lot alike, but they've got a lot of differences as well. So what I'm going to start out with you is today I'm going to give you a little frog and toad booklet. And I managed to put it all on the same pages. So it's different pages. I don't have to post all the different pages. So here's page 1, page 2 with the information. Let's see. We've also got page 3 and page 4 for you to read, okay? Page 3 and page 4. So it's 4 pages. It's 8 different little facts about frogs that you can read later on today. I also have got a video that I'm going to send that's going to explain the difference between frogs and toads. And it's just mainly going to explain, again, what Miss Bowden is teaching you guys, okay? But what I do have, which you can print out, because we're going to fill one out together, or you can draw one. I'm going to give you a Venn diagram. We did one of these in reading today. So we're going to stick with that because a lot of what we're doing today is compare and contrast. So I'm going to send you this Venn diagram about frogs and toads and what they have in common. Or you can, on your sheet of paper, just make your own, like Miss Bowden did. Miss Bowden went ahead and I just kind of drew frogs, toads, and both. And I separated them so I can write underneath what they have that are different under each, and then what they have in common under where it says both. So go ahead and either draw your Venn diagram, draw 2 big circles that interlink, or go ahead and make your list like Miss Bowden, frogs, toads, and then both. I'll give you a second, pause the video. Okay, so I am super excited that you guys are ready to learn about that. So to start out with, let's go ahead and let's compare. Let's compare. Compare means let's tell how they are alike, okay? Let's talk about it. So both frogs and toads are amphibians. They're both amphibians. They are both cold-blooded, because whatever makes them an amphibian, it's what they're going to have in common. So they're amphibians. They are both cold-blooded. They both have backbones. Very good. They are both carnivorous. Who remembers what that means? They eat meat. Very good. They're both carnivorous. They both eat meat. Do you think they both go through the same life cycle? Yeah, they both are going to lay eggs. They both are going to turn into tadpoles. And when they're tadpoles, they're going to have gills, which means that they'll live in the water at that point. Then as they grow up, they're going to form lungs so they can breathe on the land. Yeah, so that means that they have two lives, the water life and the land life. And they both are able to swallow their food. So here's what I have written down for both of them, what we talked about. Might be a little out of order, but they both have two lives, which means that they are amphibians. Yeah. Their amphibian life means one is in the water and one is on land. Both the adult frog and toad is going to lay eggs. They're going to lay eggs in that water. They both are going to swallow their food once they get it. And the food that they eat is all meat. They're carnivores, which means that they eat meat. Flies, small rodents, small birds, some snakes, insects. They're cold-blooded because they're an amphibian. They have a backbone, which makes them an amphibian. They have lungs when they grow up to live on land. They're tadpoles when they hatch from them eggs. And they have gills when they are a tadpole. So there's so many ways that frogs and toads are alike. And it's all mainly underneath our title of amphibians, which makes them an amphibian. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of this too so I can send it to you. But let's go ahead and talk about what makes a frog and a toad different, because they are quite different. Okay, so we know that frogs and toads both have two lives, a water life and a land life. Toads, though, when they get older and they move to live on land, they're going to move away from the water. They don't stay near the water. Frogs stay near the water, which means that frogs have got that slimy, moist skin. Their skin is quite smooth. Frogs, though, because they live away from their water, their skin is very dry. So if you're near the water and you see an animal, most likely it's a frog, because some frogs live in water. Most will live on land, but you do have some that do live in the water. But the only time a toad is going to be near the water is when it goes to lay its eggs. Okay? So let's talk about that. When they go to lay their eggs, frog spawn is all in a big clump. But toads lay their eggs differently. Toads spawn, they lay their eggs in lines. So Miss Bowden's got a cool little picture here to show you. The frogs lay their eggs in big clumps, big batches. But the toads lay their eggs in nice organized lines. So if you're ever near a pond or some water and you see that jelly-like egg material with the little black dots, those tadpoles forming, and they're in a big clump, that's frog eggs. But if you see them in a nice, neat line and in rows, that's toad spawn. So then you'll know that a toad is around, or a toad just came and laid its eggs, or a frog's around. Okay, so toads lay their eggs in straight lines. Frogs lay their eggs in clumps, in big masses together. Frogs like the water and live near the water. Toads do not. Frogs have moist, smooth skin. Some of them may have a few little ridges on their back, but toads have very dry, bumpy skin because they don't live near that water, so their skin's super dry. They have two bumps behind their eyes on their head, and they have a lot of bumps on their back, so they're quite bumpy and dry. A toad will only live on land except when they come to the water, because they don't go back to the water like frogs do. Toads also have really tiny ears, where frogs are going to have bigger ears. So you're not going to quite see those itty bitty ears on those toads, and you're not going to see ears like this on frogs, because that would just look super funny. But the frogs are going to have bigger, like rounder spots for them to hear their ears with. A big difference between frogs and toads. Frogs have got long, beautiful model-like legs that help them jump super far, and they can leap really, really far away. Whereas a toad it's got these short, squatty legs. And so toads don't leap far. Toads usually are seen walking, or they make little short hops, whereas frogs are going to make long, beautiful leaps. Toads are going to be little hops, or they're going to walk because they have little short stubby legs, whereas frogs have got nice long legs. A frog has got more of a narrower body, which is like kind of a skinnier body. It's slender, whereas most toads have got a plump body. So they're a little bit, they're a little chunkier, if you want to say. They've got that little roundness to them, where a frog is like skinnier and slender. Let's see. I think, another thing, because they both eat meat. But if you ever get into a frog's mouth, some frogs have got these little sharp pointy teeth, but toads have no teeth at all in their mouth. They like this. But the frogs have got the actual teeth. So that's pretty cool if you ever get a finger in a frog's mouth, which I wouldn't recommend you doing, just in case it does bite you. But anyway, frogs and toads are pretty cool. They're pretty different. I filled out my Venn diagram, and we'll go over it with you so you can help fill it out as well. Frogs live in the water, or they can live in the water, whereas toads will mainly live on the land. They don't go near the water. Frogs have a very narrow body, and toads have a very plump body. Frogs have that smooth body, whereas toads have a very bumpy body. Frogs have got teeth, and toads have no teeth. Frogs have very long, beautiful legs that help them jump super far, and toads have short, squatty legs that don't let them jump very far at all. Their eggs are in frogs' eggs are in clumps, and toads' eggs are in nice straight rows, straight lines. Let's see. Frogs have got bigger ears, and toads have got smaller ears. Let's see where I put that. Smaller ears. There we go. Frogs make very long leaps, where a toad makes short hops or it walks. A frog can have some ridges on the back, depending on what type of frog it is. Most of them have those smooth bodies, but let's see where it is. They have very dry skin, and they're very bumpy, those toads. And they're going to have those two ridges on their head behind their eyes, like two big bumps on their head. And then they have very wet skin, and toads have very dry skin. Now, all this information is in the little booklet that I'm going to send you to read and put together, so you can kind of make your own Venn diagram, or you can use my picture. I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you guys, so you guys have that. You're also going to have a sorting fact sheet to do with all the information we just taught you. So whatever one of these belongs to frogs, put them under the frogs column, and whichever fact belongs to toads, put them under toads column. So you can go ahead and determine the difference between those frogs and the toads, which is pretty cool and fun. Okay, now getting on to our writing. So we learned some facts about frogs and toads. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take what we've learned about them, and we're going to do a compare and contrast writing, which means we're going to tell the difference between them. And this is going to be a short little writing, because you're just going to take what we learned today and we're going to use it for our writing. Now, Miss Bowden's got a great little page to help you sort your information, and then I have the page where you to write it freely, okay? So here's how we're going to write our story. Let me go ahead and get my paper so I can write an example with you guys, okay? So first we have to do an introduction. First, we're going to introduce what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to be talking about the difference between frogs and toads. What would be a good introduction sentence to let our readers know that? Beautiful. I can tell you the difference Or I can tell you, how about we do this? Let me start that writing over. I will tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different. I will tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different. That's our introduction sentence. You could also use a question. Do you know how a frog and toad are the same or how they are different? I do. Let me tell you. Great introduction right there as well. Up to you what you want to do, but the basic introduction is, let me tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different, or I will tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different. Perfect introduction. Okay, our next sentence is going to be a fact about the frog. Now, it's how the frog is different than the toad, so you're going to use the same fact, possibly, if you want to, and make it easier. But tell me one way a frog is different from a toad. So I'm going to use my Venn diagram I did and look over here to tell me a good fact that I like, that how it's different. I think I'm going to use that it has long legs, which means it leaps really far. So I'm going to say frogs have long legs that help them jump far distances. Look at all those adjectives in there, making that writing great. Frogs have long legs that help them jump far distances. So there's a fact about a frog that's different from a toad. My next sentence is going to be my fact about a toad and how it's different from a frog. So now I'm going to look on this side about the toad and choose a fact. Let's choose, they have very dry, bumpy skin. Toads have extremely dry and bumpy skin. Even more adjectives in that sentence. Woo! Toads have extremely dry and bumpy skin. Okay, that's how a toad is different. Now, my fourth sentence, introduction, intro, frog, toad. Now, it's going to be how they're alike. I'm going to look in this middle section, get one fact from the middle section. How they're alike? Easy. They're both amphibians. Frogs and toads are both amphibians. I'm going to add on to it just because I like to add on some more facts. That lay eggs in water. Yeah. Frogs and toads are both amphibians that lay eggs in water. Okay, that was my fourth sentence. Now my fifth sentence is my ending sentence, my conclusion. Just restate what we wrote. We wrote at the beginning, I will tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different. I'm going to restate that at the end. And we're going to say, simple as this. Let's reread our story. I will tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different. Frogs have long legs that help them jump far distances. Toads have extremely dry and bumpy skin. Frogs and toads are both amphibians that lay eggs in water. Ending sentence. This is how a frog and toad are alike and different. I restated that sentence. I will tell you how a frog and toad are alike and different. This is how a frog and toad are alike and different. That's my ending sentence. So here's our story that we just wrote very quickly within 2 minutes. Simple 5-sentence comparison. Can you do more and tell me more reasons? Of course, I would love that. I would love for you to expand. But just a basic one, we took one fact about frogs, one about toads, one about how they're both alike, intro and ending, and that was it. If you would really like, you can always say, you know how I jumped from 2 different facts? You could easily say how we said frogs have long legs and leap far. Toads have super short legs, which means they hop really short and walk instead of leap. You can compare the same thing with each other to really show how they're different, which would make your writing even stronger. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for writing and science today. I hope you enjoyed learning about it, and I will be with you shortly for math. See you in a bit.